All right, Adventures with Words. This is 101. Why words are important. Well, according to me at least, words are important because when used correctly, they can change the direction of a person's life. Or to put it another way, they can influence someone to make a decision that they otherwise would not have made. Now just let that sink in for a minute. This is powerful stuff when you really think about it. That the effective use of the English language can influence people and indeed persuade them to do business with you. The effective use of words. Now, of course, when I talk effectiveness, I'm not just talking about the words themselves. I'm talking about the context. There might be specific words that you have chosen to use, and those words in isolation may not be that important. But when we look at the overall context, we say, wow, this really works. It really works. Okay, so, and if we're talking about the spoken word, in video, phone calls, whatever, face-to-face, there are non-verbal communication aspects, aren't there? There's the tone of your voice, the lift of your voice, dramatic highs and lows, etc. Using pregnant pauses, all sorts of techniques like that I'm going to teach you, but not today. So it's not just the words themselves. It's the way the words are expressed, the context, whole range of issues that we need to look at. But I hope you got the point there. I'm sure you have. Let's have a look at what other people are. When it's important that you use your newfound power ethically, of course. If you want people to give you money, well, you want to make sure they're the right people, and those people are going to get demonstrable benefit from doing business with you. Critical. Let's see what other people said about the topic. Let the words, this is from the Bible, of course, let the words of my mouth and the meditation be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. That's from Psalms 19:14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. What's the next one? Death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's from Proverbs. Here's another one from John Green. Sometimes you read a book and it fills you with this weird evangelical zeal, and you become convinced that the shattered world will never be put back together unless and until all living humans read the book. That's a powerful statement, isn't it? This weird evangelical zeal, and you become convinced that the shattered world will never be put back together unless and until all living human beings read the book. In other words, got you so excited, turned you into an evangelist. Have you ever had that happen to you? You've read something, it might have been a book, could have been a lengthy magazine article or something like that, and it absolutely hit you between the eyes, and you wanted to tell other people about it. It had that much impact on you. Another one here from Joseph Conrad. My task, which I am trying to achieve, is by the power of the written word to make you hear, to make you feel. It is before all to make you see. Great quote. I read in a book once that a rose by any other name, I love this one, would smell as sweet. You heard that saying, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. But I've never been able to believe it. I don't believe a rose would be as nice if it was called a thistle or a skunk cabbage. Back then, ignore the mess they leave when they fall. Now, isn't that an evocative? In our imagination, this egg falling from great heights and splattering on the ground below. The power of knowing the force possible to know more. Wise man from the past, Confucius said that. There's another one from Diane Setterfield. There, in expert hands, manipulated deftly, they take you prisoner, themselves around your limbs like spiders. And when you are so enthralled, you cannot move. They pierce your skin, enter your blood, inside you, their magic. That's a knockout piece of text, isn't it? That's a knockout. In expert hands, manipulated deftly, they take you prisoner, wind themselves around your limbs like spider silk, and when you are so enthralled, don't you love that word, enthralled, you cannot move. They pierce your skin, enter your blood, numb your thoughts. Inside you, they work their magic. And C.S. Lewis, you may have heard of him. Don't use words too big for the subject. This is a very important point. A very important point. Don't say, it's a practical point that all of us need to take heed of. Don't use words too big for the subject. Don't say infinitely when you mean very. Otherwise, you'll have no word left when you want to talk about something really infinite. It devalues the word, doesn't it? The word infinite or infinitely. It devalues it when you use it with gay abandon too often. Use smaller words. If there's a smaller word, a simpler word than the bigger word, stay with the simple. I used to do it the other way because maybe it was because I had a sense of inadequacy. I felt a sense of inadequacy about my ability to communicate with words. So I tend to use the bigger word, showing off. Oh, I know this big word. But with time, we gain wisdom, don't we? And I did a complete 180-degree turn not that long ago, a few years ago. I go for simple every time now. Have you heard of a guy called Ernest Hemingway? Very famous author, a swashbuckling author. One of the reasons why he was famous is because he's a fantastic storyteller. And he was a maniac for using smaller words, simpler words. In fact, there's a piece of software that was developed called Hemingway that helps people simplify their writing. Okay, I use it. So that's a really important point. Remove all sense of pretentiousness. You don't want to be like the movie reviewer for the Washington Post, which is a newspaper that I get snippets from that newspaper, and they do have some good writers for that newspaper, but not the movie reviewer. If she can dream up a more complicated way to say something, she's going to do it. And I no longer read her movie reviews. If I want a review for a movie, I'll get it from someone else. I won't get it from her. She just, the height of pretentiousness, it's ludicrous. And it makes it hard going to read her review. You don't want to be like that. Keep it simple. Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively using words of despair. Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. From Yehuda Berg. Tom Stoppard, another famous author. Words, they're innocent, neutral, precise, standing for this, describing that, meaning the other. So if you look after them, you can build bridges across incomprehension and chaos. But when they get their corners knocked off, they're no good anymore. I don't think writers are sacred, but words are. They deserve respect. If you get the right ones in the right order, You can nudge the world a little, or make a poem which children will speak for you when you're dead. That is an awesome piece of text, isn't it? Just savor it for a moment. Awesome piece of text. Yeah. I don't think writers are sacred, but words are. They deserve respect. If you get the right ones in the right order, you can nudge the world a little, or make a poem which children will speak for you when you're dead. You can leave your mark with words. Think of Martin Luther King. We still talk about Martin Luther King. He used words in the right context. He was also a fantastic orator. But even if you look at the text on a page without hearing him voice those words, beautifully written, just beautifully written, a masterpiece. Or many of his speeches were. Nelson Mandela, who opposed the South African apartheid regime and was imprisoned for almost 3 decades, knew the power of words. He's often quoted today, but while in prison, his words could not be quoted for fear of repercussion. A decade after his release, he said, "It's never my custom to use words lightly. If 27 years in prison have done anything to us, it was to use the silence of solitude to make us understand how precious words are and how real speech is in its impact on the way people live and die." Well said. Finally, Gary Chapman in his book, Love as a Way of Life, uses the vivid metaphor for words as being either bullets or seeds. If we use our words as bullets with a feeling of superiority and condemnation, we're not going to be able to restore a relationship to love. If we use our words as seeds with a feeling of supportiveness and sincere goodwill, we can rebuild a relationship in positive and life-affirming ways. When we need to talk candidly about something difficult with another person, we must focus on the conversation with keen attention and purpose. During the conversation, we must listen patiently, speak tactfully, and tell the truth as we understand it. We must align our words, voice inflection, and tone. This is obviously talking about the spoken word, voice-based conversations. A voice inflection and tone, eye expression, or face-to-face, including face-to-face, body language and actions with our inner awareness in an honest exchange. Now, this last one, the last point, the last page for part 1 is quite important because, in fact, it's quite relevant because yesterday I was having a coaching session with a student, some of whom you know, and we were talking about this issue of communicating via the phone and how to become more effective at that. And I was talking about listening skills, how critically important they are. And I also mentioned that most people do not have good listening skills. So I kind of made this point. It was pretty similar to this, that when we need to talk candidly about something difficult with another person, and that could include a sales-based kind of a conversation, we must focus on the conversation with keen attention and purpose. We must listen patiently, speak tactfully, and tell the truth as we understand it. People respect you for it. So that's it.